Hey guys, welcome to my channel. I'm assuming if you're here, it's not your first time here. You're probably here and you're like, who is this woman showing up in my sub box? I'm probably not even showing up in anyone's sub box because most people have unsubscribed. But if you're here, hi. I stopped existing about 1.5 years ago, so maybe you've forgotten that I existed, but I do still exist. I just wanted to come on here and talk about what's been going on in the past 1.5 years. I will let you know, like, if you're in a rough place right now and you're not looking forward to like negativity, this is not the video for you because it is pretty negative. I am going to be talking about some positive stuff in the tail end, but that's the tail end of the video and not the bulk of it. So if you are having a hard time and don't want to watch a negative video, I hope you get better and I'll see you around. I still exist, so I hope I'll see you in the next video I do. If you're still here and you're ready for the negativity, I guess I'll start with two little positive points. If you watched my channel previously, maybe you know last year around February we moved to a new house and it's been lovely. I have really enjoyed curating a new space that allows for my hundreds of plants. That's been wonderful and I have no complaints about the house. Well, I have no overall complaints about the house, so that's been pretty great. Also, I chopped all of my hair off last year, just noting if it's like, it probably doesn't even look shorter to anybody. I mean, maybe if you watch back, but I cut it up to like here because I was like going through a lot and I just chopped it and thought I was gonna shave my head and then decided against it. So this is like a year's worth of growth from that. Well, a year plus like I got a bit more chopped off because of getting it fixed from me ruining it. Shout out to Courtney, my hairstylist, the best. Oh, here we go. If you don't follow me on social media, you have probably no idea what's coming up. If you do follow me on social media, I've vented on probably every single other social media platform, so you probably do have an idea what's coming up. If you follow my boyfriend Tyler, he made a video on this in maybe November, December, January. I don't know, somewhere in the winter time, I remember, but I can't remember when. But if not, yeah, this is probably your first time hearing anything. Oh God, someone just sent me a TikTok of a pug. Oh, they said it's sad. I'm not doing that right now. March. Oh God, there's an airplane. I'll wait for the plane to pass. I won't be able to focus. I lost all of my ADHD medicine for 1 month. I lost the whole thing. And Michigan won't let me refill it. So, in March of last year, I think it was probably March 15th, I got pretty sick with presumably COVID, but I couldn't get tested because they didn't have enough tests for people that didn't travel internationally. But I did come in contact with people that traveled internationally and were sick with COVID, confirmed. So, presumably had COVID, which it did suck. It sucked really bad. I had like a really bad cough, really, really bad fever, and I was out for like literally like a week. And then I had a cough for like another month. So it was like gross. But then I recovered and I was like, well, everybody's miserable. Everybody's getting sick. People are dying. I'm not going to come back to YouTube right now because it's just not a good place and I'm not in a good headspace. So I stayed away. And then summer rolled around and I started getting inspired to like come back. And then everything with like the Black Lives Matter movement started. And thankfully at that point I was still able to like go out and protest and do everything. Because I was still feeling good at that point. So I just felt like it wasn't the good time to come back then either. It felt like my content was not important during that kind of time. You know what I mean? Like you didn't need to see, I mean, maybe you did need to see cute animals, but you can see it from somebody else and not from me. You know what I mean? I don't know. I just felt like it was like an inappropriate time for me to come back. Then fall rolled around and I was like, maybe I'll start coming back now. And it was August-ish, so I guess still not technically completely fall. And the day that it all started was I was going to go do a disc competition with my dog Ellie. It was a Saturday morning, yes. And I was at Starbucks in line and I was like, oh my God, my heart rate feels like it's going crazy. Maybe I'm just like super anxious about being in a competition after not being in one for like a long time because of COVID. I hadn't done anything. So I just chalked it up to anxiety and went home and it still didn't go down. And so I called my doctor. I just went up in dose on a medication I had been on for a while, so I wasn't sure if that was causing it. My doctor called back and confirmed, like, no, that's not like an instance that's known in this medication, so it's not that. If your heart rate's that high and it doesn't go down, you need to go to the hospital. So I gave it like 2 days. I had somebody throw for Ellie at the disc competition. That wasn't me, so I could like sit and relax. And I just took it easy for 2 days, and my heart did not take it easy for the next 2 days. So I went to the emergency room, and they said I had supraventricular tachycardia. Hopefully you understand what I'm saying if you know what I'm saying. SVT for short is what they called it. I had to like look it up later. Which basically just means my heart rate was like high for presumably no reason. They told me I had to get into a cardiologist and get put on a Holter monitor to monitor my heart rate for a couple of days. So I made an appointment, which took about a month to get into another appointment between the hospital, my regular doctor, and then the first time I went to the cardiologist, I got like 4 or 5 EKGs, and my heart was fine. I had like a short PR wave. I don't know what that means, but overall they said it seemed healthy. I got an echocardiogram, which came back fine. My heart was structurally okay and pumping fine. They had a hard time seeing through my lungs. So they were like, oh, did you have COVID? I was like, yeah. So they had to give me some kind of injection to make my lungs like clear up or something. It was some kind of like gas injection. So weird. I don't know. It tasted like metal. Anyway, structurally my heart was fine. Rhythmically, my heart was fine. It was just going too fast. So I got put on a Holter monitor in October at this point, I believe. It was like mid-October. And up until this point, the only symptom I believe I had was my heart rate was just really dang fast. Like it was just so fast. It was constantly like, I was wearing Tyler's Apple Watch. It was constantly like 150, 160, which was completely abnormal for me. Like normally it would be like 60, 70. If I'm like running, 120. So then I got the Holter monitor on. They put it on for, I believe, 5 days, 1 week. I can't remember. Somewhere around 5 days to 1 week. It's been a while. So, and I remember the 3rd or 4th day in, I fainted, which was the first time I think I had ever fainted, maybe the second time, but like I don't normally faint. So I fainted and I was like, oh, thank goodness I fainted while I was on the Holter monitor. So at least they could see what was happening, hopefully. So when I went back in and they processed it, they saw that my heart rate went up to 210 beats per minute, 205, 210, over 200. And I fainted. And then it like went down once I had fainted. So they did get it, thankfully, but they still weren't sure what it was. So thankfully, the doctor that I was going to believes in postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, because some doctors don't. Why? I don't know. And he had me do a poor man's tilt table test where I like laid down, stood up, and he monitored. He was like, I'm almost positive you have POTS. Let's get you in to do a real tilt table test so we can diagnose you and see if that's like what you're going through. At this point, it's just been like constant hell because my heart rate is constantly going super fast. I feel like I can't do anything. I get super fatigued and my chest hurts from my heart rate going so dang fast. Sometimes it's like hard to breathe. So I went in for a more formal tilt table test in November. All of this is like a month apart because COVID made it really hard to get appointments. So I went in for that, and within the first like literally 10 seconds of being flipped up, they're like, you have POTS, we can lay you back down. And I was like, okay, great. So that's what they ended up diagnosing me with, was postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome, which is a type of dysautonomia. And a lot of people coming out of COVID, a couple months after they recover, get POTS or other types of autonomic dysfunction disorders, neurological conditions. So yeah, that's what I was diagnosed with. It's been living hell. After my diagnosis, it progressively got worse and worse because I could not find a medication that would help me. I was fainting pretty often. I couldn't work hardly at all. I wasn't filming on YouTube because raising my arms would make me faint. Like I couldn't, if I did this for like 5 seconds, I would literally faint. Like I couldn't lift anything or do anything. I was basically just stuck in bed, couch, walking around the house doing very light stuff. Like I couldn't do, like my laundry really triggered it, dishes really triggered it, cleaning enclosures really triggered it. Shout out to Tyler for literally saving my entire life with being able to keep all of my animals while I was doing really poorly because everything was just like falling apart and it was ruining my life. So then I found another cardiologist who specialized in it more. If you guys are in Michigan and you're looking for a really phenomenal doctor, Dr. Anna Marandici at the Royal Oak Ministrelli Women's Heart Center is like a blessing. She's incredible. The doctor that started me out, I will say, thank God he led me to the POTS diagnosis as quickly as he did, because it takes people a very long time to get diagnosed with POTS typically. So I'm very fortunate for him, but he was not listening to me when it came to me wanting to do neurological rehab type programs, like physical therapy is what I'm trying to say, like neurological physical therapy, or like the medications I wanted to do. And he was pushing back a little bit on me getting a mobility device script. He was willing to write it, but he didn't know how to write it, which was like kind of suspicious. I don't know, very weird. So Dr. Anna Marandici, my doctor now, was incredible and got me into doing a like neurological rehab physical therapy type program that did help a bit. She got me on a medication that the other doctor wasn't even willing to try. And with the other doctor, I had done over a dozen different medication combinations to try to figure it out, and none of them were working. And if it wasn't for my current doctor, I don't know if he ever would have put me on this medication, because he wasn't willing to like work outside of like what he's already tried. But the medication that worked for me was something that like wasn't like a super common one. And it's like not like as commonly prescribed for POTS as like some of the more like, there's like 8 medications that like are usually like tried first. And she like really thought outside the bubble, or she really thought outside of the box and she really thought outside of the box and put me on like a medication that wasn't as common, but ended up working phenomenally for me. That doesn't mean I'm completely better. I still faint. I still struggle. I still can't work like I used to. There's still things that I can't do. There's still things that I have a hard time doing, but overall I am like 75% better than I was last year. Or even at the beginning of this year, honestly. I was in a wheelchair a lot of the time when I went out of the house. If I wasn't in a wheelchair, I was using a walker, which just restricted me so much because I couldn't lift them out of the car myself, so I couldn't go anywhere alone. I couldn't push myself because I had like severe neuromuscular weakness, so I had to have somebody pushing me. Not to mention, insurance companies are like very iffy about prescribing anything for POTS. So I was having a really hard time getting a lightweight wheelchair. So my lightweight wheelchair that I was able to have was over 40 pounds, which I could not lift myself, obviously, because I'm like extremely weak now. So yeah, it was just a whole mess. So I left YouTube for that reason. Well, originally for the reason of like my mental health being crap, and then this now. So I guess now, in the smaller little bubbles of issues that I've been having, I've struggled with an eating disorder most of my life. The medication that I'm on currently causes rapid weight gain, which has been like extremely difficult for me to cope with, because I'm like extremely self-conscious about myself. So it's been like extremely hard to film and edit. So I'm not even sure if I'm going to edit this at all, because I don't know if I'll be able to sit down and like look at this without deleting it. I've tried to film a couple of times and then edit it, and I just like stopped because I just can't. And Tyler, being an angel, has offered to edit videos for me so I don't have to look at my own face for too long, which is super sweet. My hair is just, the humidity here right now, I'm telling you, it's been raining for like 2 weeks. It's crazy. So yeah, I've been struggling with, you know, the body issues, being self-conscious. And the other thing that I was recently I was diagnosed with 2 things during the pandemic this year, actually. And that's PTSD, which has been something I've been struggling with for a while, but didn't really know that I had. And the other thing is OCD, mainly harm OCD and contamination OCD. The harm OCD not being that I am afraid I'm going to hurt people, but it's like compulsive behaviors, thinking that if I don't do the compulsive behaviors, someone's going to get hurt, if that makes sense. Like, it sounds like alarming for people who don't struggle with OCD or know much about OCD, but like a big one for me is like, oh, if Tyler's like out for a while and I don't hear from him, it's like Schrodinger's cat. Like, is he dead in a car accident or is he alive and busy? So I'm like, I have to call him and make sure and like get the exact time that he's gonna come home. And like, if he doesn't make it home or if he doesn't check in or if he doesn't answer, I have to start doing compulsive behaviors because I think he's dead. Does that make any sense? No. And like, I'm aware in my head that it doesn't make any sense, but like, I can't help it. The contamination OCD was mainly having to do with my animals being sick, constantly worrying that my animals were sick, checking feces, checking weights of them, changing gloves, over hand sanitizing, and over hand washing. When doing anything with my animals, because I thought if I touched one animal and then touched another animal, or touched one tub and touched another tub, I was going to kill both of the animals. And the best way I could like describe the situation I was in with that is, if I wash my hands are clean. The first thing I touch makes my hands have paint on it. Everything I touch after that also has paint on it because my hands are now like covered in paint. So like, I can only go from touching the sink to touching one thing, and then my hands have paint on them, so I have to go back to the sink and wash them again to make them clean. If I clean the one thing, like my brain is not sure how long that thing stays paint free, so I have to like wash my hands, decontaminate that, wash my hands again, decontaminate the next thing, wash my hands again. So I was like, it was just a vicious cycle of that, and it was like really, really anxiety inducing. It was triggering my panic disorder. So basically my head was just a big like loop of just mess. I was just really anxious constantly, dealing with anxiety in like a billion different ways. And I started an ERP program, which is exposure response therapy for OCD, which helped a lot. And I also like went up on a medication that helped a lot. So I haven't been struggling with that as much. Thank God. So here I am talking about all of the stuff that I've been struggling with. The OCD bulk of it was like probably a month or two ago when I was like the worst. PTSD before that, POTS before that, and then the body dysmorphia stuff always. So that's all that's been happening, honestly. I'm just struggling really hard. I'm not working like I used to be with my pet sitting business. I still am, but I'm severely limited on what I can do because of that, which is really hard because I'm a very work-oriented person and I love working. So that's been difficult for me, especially with like YouTube and stuff, because I felt like I couldn't come back because I felt like I couldn't edit. So I really want to get back to a sense of normalcy of doing something. So that leads me into the more positive thing. So the other thing I can't do is I can't sit around and do nothing because I feel like I'm rotting away and wasting my life. So I poured almost all of my savings into something that I was passionate about, and that is crested geckos. So if you guys know, a couple years ago, my partner and I started breeding crested geckos, and I just fell in love with it. And so I think 3 years ago now, 2 years ago now, something like that, I bought 2 good crested geckos. The ones we had originally were pretty good, but I bought like really high quality ones with lineage and stuff. So I started getting into that, and I said I'll grow them out and then I'll breed them. And so last year when I lost my job, technically, I'm self-employed, but I lost a lot of my clients because they were all home from work, I was like, I'm going to invest in something that doesn't necessarily need to make me money, but will make me happy. I'm sure it will, because I love animals and I love breeding things. Like, I just think responsible breeding is the best. I like lineage tracking, and I like finding suitable homes, and I like building enclosures, and it'll just be great. I just am really excited to do that. So I invested in some good quality, I mean between like 2 and 15 grams, so hatchlings and like juveniles. And I told myself I'd breed them in 2022 to 2023, depending on how big they were and when they were hatched. So that's where we are now. I have a lot of really awesome crested geckos. I'm kind of proud of myself for the ones that I picked, because a lot of them turned out to be like phenomenal animals, and I'm really excited to see what they produce. We did have already some breeding size animals from before. So we have, I think, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think we have 6 pairs from this year. So we have about 30 eggs right now. I think we're about halfway through our season, and we have 5 hatchlings so far. So that's really exciting. So going forward, if you guys weren't aware, yeah, I started a reptile breeding business called Celestial Exotics. And we also have an online storefront at celestialexotics.net, where we sell supplies. So mainly crested gecko food. We have like Pangea and Lagarde and Rapashi. And then we have like some supplies like snake hooks and, you know, like bee pollen powder and gecko cups and everything like that. So that's been really fun, more of a passion project right now. Eventually, hopefully we'll turn a profit, but right now that's okay. Even if it never turns a profit, I'm having a blast doing it. I've met a lot of really great new friends since joining the crested gecko community. I didn't even really know that there was like that much out there, or else I probably would have started earlier. In terms of like being on Facebook groups and stuff, because I've met some really awesome people through that, but that's pretty much what's going on. Yeah, our website, you can see like the breeders that we have. It's not totally up to date. I still need to like get on there and do, update it some more. I felt the need to put my energy and like passion into something that I knew I could continue to do even while I was sick. So crested gecko breeding was like that thing for me. So I'm looking forward to doing that more in like a less like a small scale type thing and more of like a breeder scale type thing going forward, because before we only had like 3 pairs and now we have like, I think next year we have like 14 pairs lined up. So kind of crazy. I think 2 or 3 of those are loans. I'm not sure. Tyler and I both have like separate geckos technically. So yeah, anyway, if you guys are interested in following the crested gecko breeding project, you can follow the page on Instagram. It's just Celestial Exotics. Facebook at Celestial Exotics. I think the @ is Celestial Cresties though, but I think if you just look up Celestial Exotics, it should pop up. The website is celestialexotics.net. And yeah, I think that's everywhere we're at right now. But yeah, we've also been vending reptile expos. You guys can find us at the Sin City Reptile Expo in Westchester, Ohio, I think it is. We go there sometimes. That's the one we've been doing. There is one around here called the Taylor Reptile Expo, which we're planning on doing in the future potentially, but the Sin City Expo has been the one we've done so far. So that's what's been going on with my life. Hope you guys have been doing okay. Also, if you're like going to comment anything about how COVID is fake or it doesn't cause problems, leave, unsubscribe, don't talk about it. I don't care. I'm just gonna like, if you comment it, I'm just gonna delete your comment and block you from my channel, so it's like not even worth your time. You are wasting your time. I'm disabled from COVID. My mother, who is not genetically related to me, so it's not genetically related, is also disabled from COVID in a slightly different way, so I do not want to hear it. If anyone wants to know what I think about getting vaccinated, because so many people ask me since I'm disabled from COVID, I'm vaccinated. If that says anything, my mom's vaccinated. We had the issues before getting vaccinated, before you start saying anything. So yeah, thanks for watching. Thank you for sticking around. I am coming back, probably not in the same way that I was. I need Tyler's help doing a lot of stuff in terms of lifting enclosures, setting stuff up, but he's a wonderful boyfriend and he's always willing to help me, so I'm sure that will be no problem going forward. So thank you guys for watching. Comment down below how you've been in the past year. What has changed? I missed talking to all of you. And if you guys want to see more of me, OnlyFans, just kidding. Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, not Facebook. I don't have a public Facebook. I mean, you can technically follow me on Facebook. I do have like public posts and you can technically comment on them, but it's not like a page. It's literally just my private Facebook account. Anyway, Twitter and Instagram is where I'm the most active, so you guys can follow me there. And I interact more often and talk more often than I do here. I won't ghost you for a 1.5 years there. So I'll see you guys next time, which will hopefully not be in another 1.5 years. Bye.